let them people know it's time for the show.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Billsology for November 15th, a brisk fall evening wherever you are. I am your host, Dave Myers, joined always, as always, joined on Saturday nights by my guy, Akeem Richens. Akeem, how you feeling, man?
Anxious, nervous,
Uh-oh.
a lot of different things in one, but great Saturday, great time to be alive. Our Buffalo Bills play tomorrow, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling anxious. Dave, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I got a question for you. Do you have any Christmas decor up at your house yet?
I
Be honest.
just
Be honest.
purchased
Don't.
my Christmas tree.
Okay.
No. I don't have anything up, but I just purchased my Christmas tree. My wife been talking about getting Christmas up, starting it early. So we're trying to start it early this year. So my decoration should be up by mid to end of the week. What about you?
Oh yeah, dude. Since the 1st or 2nd of November. So let me ask you this follow-up question: are you a real tree or a fake tree guy? Family, I should say family.
I'm a real tree guy, real tree family. I like the smell of the tree in the house for some weird reason. I just like the smell. So I'm a real tree. Even though going the fake route is a lot easier in maintenance and low maintenance, but I do the real tree thing. What about you? What you do, real or fake?
What should we be, or what are we? We are a not real tree because my stepson is allergic to pine for all things.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
we bought a really nice one a couple years ago, and it looks good. My wife does a good job. So, all right, with all the Christmas talk out of the way, we have a really loaded show. Sorry, you guys, we couldn't be here last week. That was on me. I had some stuff going on. I wasn't feeling that great, but we're back at it. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Bounce back game for the Bills. We want to talk about Josh Allen. We're going to talk about James Cook. All the Bills injury news / signing / elevations from the practice squad, because I think that's a very important topic, because that's going to bleed into our wide receiver conversation. Is this a must-win game for the Bills? Keys to the game, as always. We could talk a little bit about Joe Brady and the offense and things like that. And I definitely want to spend some time talking about Keon Coleman, because that is a very hot topic right now. And I feel like the two of us always try to bring the information from a different kind of perspective. And I think that's going to be a good conversation. But as always, Akeem, I'm going to leave it up to you, man. Where do you want to start off on this journey?
Oh man, I mean, I don't think you could go wrong with any topic. Let's start with Josh Allen. Let's start with our franchise quarterback, because obviously everybody has an opinion on what the issue is with the Buffalo Bills and what the Buffalo Bills offense look like. Is it the receivers? Is it the lack of separation in the receivers from the Buffalo Bills? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Joe Brady? What is going on there? So let's discuss.
Did you happen to see the tweet from Kurt Warner? Not the one that he put out that we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago, but I think this made the rounds either earlier today or yesterday, talking about his 70% completion percentage. Do you think at all that has anything to do with Josh Allen? Because Josh Allen's sitting at 70% completion percentage on the season, and everybody's talking about what's wrong with Josh and why isn't he taking the checkdowns, and why isn't he taking the easy things? Why is he bailing on the pocket so early? What's he not seeing now that he's seen the last 4 or 5 years? So what's your take on completion percentage first? Because ironically enough, Akeem, one of the very first shows that you and me ever did, I was in my car, and we were doing a show about the draft, and we were talking. You asked me about completion percentage because it was right before the 2018 draft, and you were asking me if that's something that can be fixed. Is it a mechanics thing? Is it just a guy's just inaccurate? So I thought that was ironic that we're going to talk about completion percentage, and that was one of the very first conversations that we had live together about 7-ish years ago. So let's talk about that first. Let's talk about the completion percentage with Josh, because
Absolutely.
everybody wants to say he's not taking the easy thing, right? He took the easy things last year, and the completion percentage wasn't as good as it is this year. So is that a throwaway stat? Is that just something we shouldn't pay attention to because he's not taking the easy things? What's your I want your take on what you're seeing from when you watch Josh, when you watch back games from, the previous game that the Bills have played, when you're seeing things. Obviously, we don't see things in real time. We see things when we watch the All-22. We see that he doesn't look at guys like Keon Coleman. He doesn't look over to James Cook or the guy that's open right underneath for the easy dump off. Like, what's your thoughts overall on Josh Allen and the completion percentage / not taking easy things? And then we can lead that into a bigger conversation about the offense, I guess.
I think that there is a cause and effect to everything. I think that there is a trickle down effect to everything. What I'm seeing right now in terms of Josh Allen, I'm not sure how much he trusts the guys that he has in terms of the weapons to throw the ball to. Is trust is an issue. Sometimes it looks as if when you watch back the All-22, look, okay, Keon Coleman's right there, take it. Khalil Shakir's right there, take it. Take the throw. Why aren't you taking that throw? And obviously, also 22 would show a wide open player. Josh definitely has to take that throw. Why isn't he taking that throw? I believe it's because of the lack of trust that he has with his receivers. I also believe that, in terms of completion percentage, I believe that it has a combination of Josh Allen getting better and evolving as a quarterback and working on his mechanics. And you combine that with a very conservative approach of the offensive side of the ball with the Buffalo Bills and Joe Brady, whereas this is no longer called taking the check down. This is Joe Brady's offense and the conservative nature. He runs it. And I believe when you have that conservative offense and you combine with obviously Josh evolving as a better thrower and getting his mechanics right, I believe that is why Josh Allen does have a 70% completion percentage. But as in terms of what he's seeing or what he's not seeing, I think that does have something to do with the trust he has in his receivers or the lack thereof. Or it could be the lack of trust he has in the scheme without even him knowing it, right? I do believe that Josh Allen, and of course we had this discussion in our group chat, all quarterbacks or most players are system players, right? But the great players can thrive in any system. And I think Josh Allen is one of those guys that can thrive in any system, but he is still a part of the system. And when the system is not running as a well-oiled machine, I believe he's affected. And when the system is not, in terms of wide receiver play design and the routes they're running, is that a good route combination that these receivers are running, that is play design, that is scheme, right? But now if things are not to Josh Allen's liking, I think certain things break down. Is he getting the protection right? Did he slide the offensive line over the correct way? Is he reading the blitz? Is he picking up on the middle linebacker pre-snap? Is he recognizing the scheme and the defense the opposition is in before the ball is snapped? So I think Josh Allen's struggles are starting to become a trickle effect because the offensive scheme is lacking in terms of play design and creativity and wide receiver concepts.
So what I hear you saying, and I do agree with the good bit of what you're saying. Do you think that this is something that can be corrected in the immediate future? Because we're in week 11. There's no off season. There's no, hey, I'm Josh Allen, I'm going to pick one thing to fix, because confidence is crazy, right? Confidence, and it's infectious, right? Either you have it or you don't. And I feel like when we watched the 2023 Josh Allen you could tell he was going through it, right? When Ken Dorsey's offense just didn't seem to be working. I feel like they hit a wall in the ceiling of where that was at. I'm starting to feel like Josh Allen is feeling like he's hit a wall, not just with the skill position players he has, but with the play calling. And I feel like if there's a confidence of him going into the game, not feeling the play calling that has been approached for that week, whatever given week it is, right? I think that that's infectious as far as how everybody else performs on the field. And now, again, I've seen a lot of stuff come out today about people putting a lot more blame on Josh than on Brady, on the wide receivers, on the play calling, on Brandon Beane. And I'll push back. I'll push back on that all day because I don't feel like Josh just forgot what he just accomplished last year. I don't think that Josh forgot how good he's been the last 5 years. I really don't. I feel like I'm starting to get concerned that this may have a long-lasting effect on his psyche, his mentality, how he approaches the game, because he's just, I think a lot of his skill and his raw ability masks a lot of stuff. I think we can agree on that, right? Like Josh Allen's ability to just make something out of nothing continuously, and he has for 8 years. I feel like that masks a lot of the deficiencies on the offense. But it's also caught up to the Bills in the fact where he doesn't feel comfortable. He doesn't look like he's into the games like he used to be. He looks like he's that sulking Josh when things aren't going right, that he kind of just goes and sits off to the side. And I'm concerned, honestly. Like, I still think Josh Allen's going to be a great quarterback and he's going to do all kinds of great stuff for this franchise. But are we to a point, and I'm talking about this season, are we to a point where things can get turned around? And we'll talk about what the Bills did with the wide receiver position here in just a little bit. But are you concerned short-term, long-term, if this is something that, if Josh Allen doesn't like the plays that are being called, why is he not taking it upon himself to make sure that the team is being put offensively in a successful position? You know what I mean? Like if he gets a call in his helmet and he knows it's not going to work, and then there's a backup call in case the coverage or whatever he sees from the defense isn't working, and he doesn't like that one. Okay, what's plan C? Is he just not going to do a lot of the stuff that he did last year, where you could tell he was moving guys in motion? He was pointing things out pre-snap. He was pushing Cook around in the backfield, sending the tight ends all over the place. Like I haven't seen a lot of that. And when I don't see that is when the Bills offense is really, really struggling, like it did on Sunday. They were just fighting for positive yards, first downs, things like that. And they were behind the sticks the whole game. And it just they were never able to catch up. So again, I'll ask you, I mean, I know that was a long-winded, kind of thought on that, because I have a ton of thoughts on Josh, and I don't want to waste this whole show talking about it. But I'll ask you, is this something that can be fixed short-term, since we are in week 11? And is this something that you'd be concerned about, like long-term, as far as this year and beyond?
As far as this year and beyond, I honestly think Josh Allen goes as the scheme that he's in goes, if that makes sense. I think Josh Allen last year, I believe he had a lot of success with Joe Brady, and him ultimately winning MVP was because he was known as a certain type of player. He was known as a player to be turnover prone, right? And I believe the conservative approach to Joe Brady's offensive scheme is really what helped and ultimately propelled Josh Allen to that MVP. But Josh Allen ultimately helped the scheme because of the type of quarterback he is. When there is nothing, he can make something out of nothing. So when you combine that Josh with Joe Brady's conservative scheme, it was ultimately a success for both offensive coordinator and quarterback. But now this year, where the offensive scheme is out there for everybody to see and everybody to study, and now the opposition understands and know what the identity of the Buffalo Bills is, and they understand and know the type of receivers the Buffalo Bills have on their roster as well. And I think teams or the opposition is really is really honed in on and understanding the type of scheme Joe Brady wants to run. And I believe that it causes trouble for Josh Allen. And now I seen a comment where it says, well, guys are running open and Josh Allen just isn't seeing the guys. I just think that he's involved with a scheme that has struggled for some time. And now that when things actually open up, he doesn't see it because of, now I'm not making excuses for Josh. Josh is a $250 million quarterback, right? So he is the franchise guy, so he has to shoulder a lot of this blame. But at the same time, I do believe Josh Allen, there's not too many Peyton Mannings out there, right? Too many guys that can see, that can call a play, that can get to the line, that can see something and call something different to be successful based on what they saw. There are not too many quarterbacks like that. And I think, me personally, I thought Josh Allen was like that. Not Peyton Manning, but understood coverages pre-snap where he can make the necessary adjustments to have a successful play on the offensive side of the ball. I do think ultimately Josh Allen is a proponent of his scheme, and he's going to call the play that Joe Brady is going to call. And sometimes the heroics isn't going to help all the time. And I think we're at a point where Josh Allen, for the short term, Joe Brady, they're going to have to find ways to attack defensively, attack defenses in a different way, go vertical, understand route concepts, and just switch things up. Because if not, I believe these are type of struggles that we're going to see from Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. If they don't have success running the ball, they're going to have these struggles. And I think it starts with Joe Brady, and then it starts with Josh Allen. Just my personal opinion. Joe Brady has to find a way to open up that offense and that offensive scheme for the receivers and Josh Allen to be successful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us fans, we struggle with the fact that we know who Josh Allen is arm talent-wise, and we want to see him throw the ball downfield. I think a lot of us fans don't want to consider Josh Allen to be like a glorified game manager. You know what I mean? Like,
his ceiling is limited. In Joe Brady's offense, his ceiling is limited.
To that, I say this: like, you talk about, and I'm not comparing the two quarterbacks I'm about to name, and I don't want anybody to think I am, but if you look at how Tom Brady was successful, he was extremely intelligent, and he took what the defense gave him until it turned into Super Bowls, right? Like, it was constant. He wasn't, the only year that he was doing that was when he had Randy Moss, and it was Randy Moss. There was times when he made Julian Edelmans and Wes Welkers, and he would go underneath to the Gronkowskis and stuff like that. It's okay to have a quarterback. I'd rather have Josh Allen be smarter with the football than trying to constantly force plays that aren't there. And Brady didn't always have the most dynamic wide receivers. He made work what was there. Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago, and there's another name that I'm probably going to set some people off. A couple of years ago, Patrick Mahomes' wide receiving core was very similar to what the Bills have this year, and they went to the Super Bowl. It was because of the offensive coordinator, and it was because understanding what they had and how to make it work. And Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball with any quarterback. We know that. But he understood that in this system, I have to use the guys for their strengths and abilities, similar to what Josh did last year. So I'd rather see a Josh Allen, yes, that is dynamic, and he will run around and he will escape the pocket and he plays off script. But I'd also rather see him take the easy passes, even if it's 3 or 4 yards, than trying. The last few games he's been the Miami game and then the 2 losses, he forced the ball. He was forcing passes to guys that were covered because he was trying to make something that wasn't there, like he did, previous to 2024 when he threw 19 picks. And I don't know. I'm hoping that, and we'll get into it in a second because I want to get past the injury news and stuff like that. But I'm hoping that with the guys that they just added to the roster, to the active roster today, that were called up and signed and whatnot, I'm hoping that they're looking to see if they can kind of maybe ignite a little bit in Josh where he's getting receivers that can give him better looks. That's all I can think. So let's talk about injuries. Anything else on Josh before we move on to the injuries?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this by Roy. Shout out Roy, by the way. What's the scheme difference this year and last year? I don't think it's too much scheme difference. I just think the opposition actually understands exactly what Buffalo's trying to do this year as opposed to last year. Last year, Joe Brady was still a fairly new offensive coordinator. It was his first full season as offensive coordinator, so the opposition didn't get the film that they have now. Now you have a number of games. You have 2 years of film in terms of what the Buffalo Bills identity is and what they like to do. And I think this year, the opposition has caught up to the offense that the Buffalo Bills are running. And now we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Every year we play the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, in the playoffs. They have every year, offensively and defensively, they have some sort of new wrinkle in the playoffs when they play the Buffalo Bills. They have some sort of adjustment that they made that they didn't have in the regular season. And I think right now that's what the Buffalo Bills are lacking. They're lacking the ability to make the necessary adjustments. They're lacking the ability of showing something new or unpredictable that the opposition hasn't seen. And I think that is the difference with the Buffalo Bills this year and last year.
And what's infuriating too, and I agree with you 100%, but what's infuriating too is coming out of the bye, Joe Brady clearly got the message. We saw 1 week, heavy dose of James Cook. The next week, Josh Allen throws 88% completion percentage. They got Cook, Shakir, and Kincaid involved. We came on this show, we went live and said, those are the three guys that we've been talking about all season. Mm-hmm. And then last week, it just looked like just a mess, a jumbled mess of, we don't know what we want to do. We don't know if we want to establish the run. We don't know if we want to pass. We don't know what we want to do here. So hopefully they've gone back to, some of the basics that have been working. So I don't know. All right. The injury report, you might need to get your glasses if you can't really read small print because there's so many on here. Now a lot of guys were full. They still had to list them because they started the week on the injury report. So it looks like Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, AJ Epinesa, Joshua Palmer, thank God, is back. I think that's going to help. Jordan Phillips, TJ Sanders, who we can talk about here in a minute. He's off of IR. They opened his window. He came right back to the active roster. Khalil Shakir and Dorian Williams. Now, I'm glad all those guys are back. I think we needed AJ Epinesa. I thought I would never say that. AJ Epinesa is a big one. Joshua Palmer is a big one. And I think TJ Sanders is another one that we need to get that defensive tackle rotation since obviously Ed Oliver's out and we obviously lost Michael Hoyt and Landon Jackson was put on IR this week. So what I'm concerned with, Akeem, if you look at this list, who's going to play nickel corner for the Bills? Because Taron Johnson practiced in full, and then was limited. Now he's questionable. Cam Lewis was limited all week. That's your two nickel corners right there. So those are the two right there that I'm a little concerned about. What's your thoughts? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I have concerns as well in terms of, who's going to play that nickel position. Obviously, we have the rookie Jordan Hancock. He may be one of those guys to step in and play that role, but obviously it does draw concerns, especially when you're playing a team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that's battling their own injuries as well, but they have some receivers out there. They have Ibuka, who is a damn good rookie receiver. They have Tez Johnson, who is a smaller in stature. I don't know how he made it, probably because of his size, who lasted to the 7th round as a draft pick. Tez Johnson, who scored touchdowns back-to-back weeks. So they have, despite injuries, they do have a lot of shifty skill position players still, especially on that wide receiver group for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So especially with Baker playing as well as he's been playing with the Buccaneers since he's got there, it definitely draws some type of concern in terms of who's playing that nickel position. You would hope we get one of those guys in uniform tomorrow.
Yeah, and I thought I would never say this, but Cam Lewis played really good a couple weeks ago.
Cam Lewis is playing better than Teron Johnson right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's call a spade a spade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist and put a tinfoil hat on, but they just restructured Taron Johnson to give him less money this year and next year. So I don't know if maybe that doesn't have anything to do with it, but he's not been the normal Taron Johnson. I don't know if things are finally starting to catch up to him. I don't know if it's scheme or what, but seeing that, how do you feel about the Bills playing a lot of 3 linebackers? Because we've been kind of on the linebacking play most of the year. Like, I made a video about it talking about Terrell Bernard. I don't know if he's injured. I don't know if he's playing through something. Obviously, we can talk about Matt Milano. We've talked about Matt Milano at almost every show that we've done. He just doesn't have it anymore. And then Shaq Thompson's questionable. So he's been their best linebacker as far as I'm concerned. Then you have Dorian Williams. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the DBs, if they're going to play an extra safety. I mean, Jordan Hancock, like you said, maybe he gets that role, but it's a little concerning. Hopefully one of those guys, like you said, can play, and they can figure that out, because you didn't even name Mike Evans.
I don't think I think he's out.
Well, I know Godwin's out.
Godwin and Mike Evans, they're both out.
Mike Evans, okay. All right. So a couple moves the Bills did make this week. Dalton Kincaid, he's week to week, so I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. I know you wanted to touch on that. We could talk about it briefly. He's been dinged up all 3 years in the league. Last year, obviously, we know about his injuries. This year, this is his second injury, a different one than last time. So is this concerning to you, Akeem? He's probably our best pass catcher, and he's not reliable at this point. Your best ability is your availability. So what's your thoughts there?
It's a concern. It's definitely a concern, because especially how the Buffalo Bills team is constructed right now, Dalton Kincaid is their best wide receiver or their best pass catcher on the team. He is their best vertical threat on the team. I believe that Khalil Shakir is a good wide receiver. I also believe that if he has a player next to him that's better than him, he's even more dangerous. Khalil Shakir should not be, in my opinion, I know he's our most trusted receiver. Khalil Shakir, in my opinion, should not be our best receiver. I think we should have at least somebody alongside Khalil Shakir that will make him even more dangerous coming out the slot. And I think Dalton Kincaid provided that in this Buffalo Bills offense. So for him to be as off injured as he is, it is concerning, because it is in my opinion, a steep drop off as a pass catcher when you talk about Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I like Dawson Knox, but he is the number 2 tight end for a reason. And I think the chemistry between him and Josh compared to Kincaid and Josh in terms of getting the ball to a pass catcher is definitely a decline when talking about Dawson Knox starting. So Dawson Kincaid, we need him, in my opinion, sooner rather than later. I think it's going to affect us. Hopefully Joe Brady comes out and has a game script and is prepared to get Joshua Palmer more involved, and to get maybe Gabe Davis and Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel more involved in this offense. I'm not sure how much we're going to see Keon Coleman, if at all, in tomorrow's game. So Joshua Palmer, hopefully, I seen Joe Brady say something along the lines of he is an important piece to what we do offensively. Hopefully we can see that starting tomorrow.
Yeah, Josh too. Josh came out and said that Joshua Palmer is a huge part of what they're trying to do. All right, so some housekeeping on the Bills move. So we talked about TJ Sanders. He's back from IR. They opened his 21-day window. He's right back. The Bills did sign Morgan Fox, which I do kind of like this move. I was kind of shocked that somebody didn't grab him and he was still available. If you guys don't know who Morgan Fox is, he's like Michael Hoyt light. He kind of can line up at any 4 positions on the defensive line. He did play with Joey Bosa in LA. So there's some familiarity there. I like that signing a lot. He was signed to the Bills practice squad. Gabe Davis, as everybody knows, he was activated from the practice squad today. Earlier this week, the Bills signed Mecole Hardman to the practice squad. Well, he was signed to the active roster today. Brandon Codrington was cut. I know Akeem probably feels a certain way about that. I've been talking about it in our group chat for the last month. Like, the dude's the only thing he can do is return kicks and punts, and he's inactive on game day. He literally cannot do anything else. He's a cornerback, but he can't play cornerback. in the NFL. I'm sorry, he's just a liability, and he was cut today. So, and then Landon Jackson went on the IR. Obviously, unfortunate news from what happened against Miami. He tore his PCL and MCL issue. So, Akeem, let's talk about Gabe Davis and Mecole Hardman. So, are you excited to watch Gabe Davis run routes tomorrow? True question. I thought I would never say.
I guess. Right. I guess. At this point, I think we need something better on the outside than what Keon Coleman was providing for the Buffalo Bills. And I understand that, Keon Coleman has been getting a lot of flack from a lot of people lately.
Yep.
Listen, I would love for him to perform better, but I understood who Keon Coleman was before he was drafted to the Buffalo Bills. So am I surprised that he is performing the way he's performing? No, I'm especially with where we're playing him at a boundary position in terms of being a strictly an outside receiver, when the scouting report suggests that he would struggle being strictly an outside receiver. So because of those things, yes, I'm excited to see Gabe Davis in terms of what he can do and what he can provide and what he can bring to the Buffalo Bills, because what he provided before and what us as fans thought wasn't enough at the time he was a Buffalo Bills will be a welcoming sight this time around if he can provide what he did before for the Buffalo Bills, which is crazy, right? But so that's where we're at.
I think Gabe Davis is your Mac Hollins replacement. Am I wrong? Like, I think he's got more ability than Mac Hollins, but I see he could be that Mac Hollins role of go block. Obviously, he's not going to play special teams, but go block when we need you to block, because he's an exceptional blocker. At least I think he's an exceptional blocker as far as for what they have on the roster. He is a contested catch guy. He's proven to be a contested catch guy. I saw the comment about being good off script. And I think Gabe is just that guy. Whatever you ask him to do, he's going to go do it. Now, we all got hung up on the last stuff that we saw, him arguing with fans when he was injured at the end of 23, dropping passes. We've all like talked about like the deficiencies that Gabe Davis has, but a lot of people don't talk about the good stuff that Gabe Davis did for not just the Bills, but for Josh Allen. Like he was scoring touchdowns, 7 or 8 a season. And that was when Diggs was here. So I feel like if you can get a guy in there that is going to be an uptick over Keon Coleman, who has trust already built in with Josh, he is an NFL-ready wide receiver that Jacksonville thought highly of him to pay him a lot. And here he is. So I'm not expecting him to like go all world and have a huge bunch of games here, but I am expecting him to make some nice receptions. I am expecting Josh to target him downfield, and I am expecting him to do what Gabe Davis did when he was here before. Obviously, he's got to get back in to the style and the quickness of the NFL game because he was out with that injury for so long. But I don't know. And then another one is Mecole Hardman. I was kind of surprised that he was signed to the active roster as fast as he was. Signed to the practice squad just a few days ago, and I figured that Brandon Beane was just turning over every stone that he could for street free agents at wide receiver, and Mecole Hardman had just happened to been, sitting out there. And we started talking about Brandon Codrington immediately because Mecole Hardman is an exceptional returner. And I feel like he's an upgrade over – we've had Keon back there. We've had Curtis Samuel back there. We've had Ray Davis back there, even Codrington. So what's your thoughts on Mecole Hardman? And what does this mean for the rest of the wide receiver room? Include Gabe Davis in your response if you want there, because both of those guys are being added to a room where we already had 6, and now we're going to have to take away somewhere. What's your thoughts?
I think that Hardman is about the return game. I don't think the Buffalo Bills had a significant returner in terms of being a consistent threat since Andre Roberts, right? Since we spoke about that about a couple of weeks ago. And I think that is a part of the game in terms of special teams where probably the Buffalo Bills can be better at and want to be better at. And I think when you put Hardman in that equation, I think the opportunity is obviously there. His speed and his explosive ability is something that you can't ignore in terms of what he could provide as a wide receiver. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure what he could provide. I'm not sure what Gabe Davis provide. For me, the wide receiver room is obviously made up of, okay, are these guys good? Are these individual players? Do these individuals have talent, right? Of course, you want to have talented players as a wide receiver core, but I think ultimately it's about the scheme. It's about the scheme. Unless you have, in my opinion, unless you have a AJ Brown or Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, unless you have alpha or number one wide receiver that can make your scheme look better just because they are a beast of a football player or wide receiver, the Buffalo Bills don't have that. So for me, it's about the scheme. Is Joe Brady going to make the necessary adjustments to make the offense better? Is Joe Brady going to make the necessary adjustments to get vertical and to be a threat downfield? If so, then yes, I think these players can obviously and absolutely make an impact. If Joe Brady's going to run out the same predictable conservative offense he's been doing the last couple of weeks, I'm not so sure if these receivers in terms of Hardman and Gabe Davis can make an impact in the offense that they're in. So we're going to see what type of adjustments can be made. But can Hardman absolutely make a difference as a return man? I believe so, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw a question if Josh Palmer is playing. Yes, he is playing. He was a full participant in Friday's practice. To me, I mean, we talk about redundancy a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it with the safeties. We talked about it with Taylor Rapp and with Cole Bishop. We talked about redundancies with the Bills wide receivers. They have a bunch of guys that do all the same stuff, right? To me, McCole Hardman does exactly what Curtis Samuel does. Like if you go back and you watch any kind of clips on how the Chiefs used, how the Chiefs used McCole Hardman, it was a lot of the near the line of scrimmage passing, return game, jet sweeps, reverses, stuff like that. And that's what Curtis Samuel and what they've been using Elijah Moore for. We didn't even mention Elijah Moore. Like it's going to be really interesting to see. There was a report that came out from Cover One that, now believe it if you want, but it said that Keon Coleman's going to be inactive tomorrow. If that's the case, this means more than just, I think, Keon Coleman's not producing, we're going to bench Keon Coleman. I think this is something that is a stance that's being taken at the locker room.
Do you like that? If that is true?
Yes.
You like that? You like the Keon Coleman?
You sound like Kirk Cousins. You like that?
You like that?
Yeah, because I think we're at a point. Everybody's comparing what's going on right now to 2023. When the Bills were 6-6 and, oh shit, we got to win every game just to get ahead of the Miami Dolphins. And we need them to lose to the Tennessee Titans, in week 18, or week 17, whatever that was. I feel like Sean McDermott needs to do something. And now this could be coming from someone else. I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist, but this could be coming from Brandon Beane saying, I brought you, Gabe Davis is here now. I went out and got Mecole Hardman. I was trying to figure out what we can do to get an uptick with this offense in the passing game. And Sean McDermott's been bitching about the passing game the last month, about how we need to be two-dimensional. So telling a guy that you're not cutting it. Now, is that Keon's fault? Maybe Keon jogs on some routes, but also maybe the Bills aren't using Keon Coleman how they should be, like you alluded to earlier. Like if Keon Coleman's lined up outside, guess what pass is coming? A 50-50 ball is coming to Keon. Just go run up and out. We're going to try to hit you on a back shoulder fade. Now, they got one last week, and Josh even said he got one. But if you're asking me if I like it, yes, send a message to that locker room. Nobody's job is safe if you're not helping this team and you're not being productive. And again, it's a slippery slope because we've sat here and talked about, is it Keon's fault for his lack of production?
Yeah, I don't like it.
You know what I'm saying? Like half of the Bills fans will say he's lazy, he's immature, he doesn't look like he gives a shit. And then the other half of the fan base that watches film and goes back and does all this stuff will say, well, they're not using him properly. Put him in the slot. Kincaid's out. Put him in the slot. Put him in the slot. And then the other side will say, well, he's running more routes than anybody else on the team. Why is that happening? Why is he running more routes than anybody else on the team by like a lot? So it's, I don't know. Like the Keon thing is a hard topic because
It is.
He was picked 33rd overall, essentially first round light pick, right? Because the Bills traded back. He was their first pick of the draft last year. Last year seemed like he was playing well and then got injured, came back. He was non-existent. This year came out the gates hot, and then he's been non-existent the rest of the season up until the Miami game. He had that 35-yard touchdown. I feel like the Bills media people are constantly asking Sean McDermott if there's a confidence issue, if there's an immaturity issue, if there's this, if there's that. So if this is the flag that McDermott's going to plant and saying, look, it's not good enough. We got a guy here that was here before. Josh and him have a really good history together. We brought in, Palmer's back. We're going to try to figure something out. The offense, maybe it looks different. I don't know. And again, this rumor may not be true, but if it is, I like it. Send a message. Like, we are losing distance on the Patriots. Like, I understand they played one more game than us, but they have already won 9 games, right? How many more are they going to lose, right? The Bills need to be basically almost flawless the rest of the season to probably get ahead of them and win the game in Foxborough. So I don't know. I think a statement needed to be made similar to 23 when they fired Ken Dorsey. A statement was made. It's not good enough. We need to change something, and that shook Josh up. Maybe this does the same sort of, maybe Josh is like, okay, so I don't need to force feed Keon Coleman anymore, and I can obviously look at other things and do other stuff. And what's your thoughts? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? What's your take?
I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. And I feel that Keon Coleman is being scapegoated right now. The problems on the offense with the passing game extends way further beyond Keon Coleman. And 100%. in my opinion, is like, okay, you can view Keon Coleman as the guy that, he's not playing well, he's inactive. What's your overall view of Keon Coleman? My overall view of Keon Coleman when he came out, I didn't see him as a number 1 receiver, a number 2 receiver, a number 3 receiver. I didn't see him as a guy that you want to just put out in the boundary and let him live in the boundary. I saw Keon Coleman as a guy that is not the greatest of athletes in terms of speed and getting in and out his routes and in and out his breaks. But I saw a guy that can do a multitude of things within the offense. Sometimes, depending on what you're running, you could put him on the outside. You could put him on the inside. You can put him in special teams. He can do different things. I don't think he should be looked at as one of the main guys. And I think Keon Coleman being looked at as one of the main guys and putting him in positions where the scouting reports say he's not going to be successful. Everybody sees the scouting report. Everybody knows the scouting report, whether you want to believe it or not. That is the scouting report on Keon Coleman. And the Buffalo Bills says, you know what? This is a scouting report, but you know what? Forget that. We're going to make you do what you don't do best anyway. And when you don't do it, even though the scouting report says you're not good at it, we're going to bench you. I just, in my opinion, I don't believe in that. In my opinion, I think Keon Coleman is better than Tyrell Shavers.
I agree with you 100%.
Put him in a lesser role. It's the fact that he's the 2nd round pick. It's the fact that he's the first selection for the Buffalo Bills, and they're playing him out of position and expect expectations to be greater than, in my opinion, what it should be set out to be. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills are doing Keon Coleman any favors. Not saying that they have to, but I
Yeah.
think they should put him in better positions to be successful, based on what he does well. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills are doing that. So I just think he's a scapegoat for the Buffalo Bills offense. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's inactive, but I'm not the biggest fan of the rumor.
Yeah. How many times did you and me talk about all the videos that came that surfaced over the summertime about him running routes and it looked bad? And you and me came on here and said, yeah, it looks bad because that's not who he is. He's not a burner. He's not a separator. He's a guy that you need to find schemes to get him and his physicality involved in the game. And that doesn't mean run him down the field and just chuck a ball to him and say, well, you're bigger than him. You should come down with it. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. They should use him in certain packages. Because if it was up to me, I don't care if the man has 20 receptions. If 10 of them are for touchdowns, yeah, that works. That's fine. I'm good with that. Like, fine. You want him to be more productive? I get that. But you're not helping the situation by just constantly force feeding him. It's like taking a safety and asking him to do stuff that he's not comfortable doing. If you're not a box safety, you're not a box safety. Am I right? We talked about redundancy at the safety position. You need to have two different safeties on your field. And if you have two of the guys that do the same thing well and do two things bad, what do you think is going to happen? That's like telling Keon Coleman, go beat Joshua Palmer and run his routes. That's not fair because Joshua Palmer's a separator and Keon's not. So anyway,
it just seems like lazy scouting to me. It just seems like lazy scouting. Hey, Keon Coleman, he plays basketball, right? He's 6'4", 220 pounds. Josh Allen never had a contested catch guy before. We're going to make this guy a contested catch guy. You know, he's did it in college, but his metrics doesn't suggest he's exceptional at it. But you know what? We're going to make him this, and we're going to put this square peg in this round hole and make it work. And I think that's what the Buffalo Bills are doing. They're not doing him any justice, in my opinion. And at this point, we'll see what happens. Maybe cover one is right.
I feel like Coleman was the pick because Brandon Beane has the fascination with having these big guys. And it's okay to have big guys, but they don't need to be your number one. Like, you'd like to have a Mike Evans. You'd like to have some of these really big receivers that are number ones, but Stephon Diggs wasn't a big guy. Cole Beasley wasn't a big guy. John Brown wasn't a big guy. Khalil Shakir's not a big guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to have these big guys. And that's where we just talked about Gabe Davis. He was that big guy, and he was always force-fed to us to be that number two receiver, and it just never worked out. Gabe was a nice he's a nice piece to have as maybe a wide receiver 3 when you want that, to have that big guy, but he was and now they've forced Keon into that role. They forced Keon into being, you're going to be a guy that we're going to put on the boundary, and you're going to run down the field, and we're going to throw you the ball, and you got to go get it. And that's not going to work in the NFL. It might work a little bit in college, but it's just not. Because I don't know. I don't want to spend too much more time on Keon. I put videos out this week talking about Keon, and you're right to agree. I see your point 100% about Keon being the scapegoat, but they've also already inactivated Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel, and who else are they going to inactivate?
Right.
For the game, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to do that to, Khalil Shakir. Joshua Palmer's been out. You're not going to do that to him. So you just brought up Gabe Davis. So if you're trying to make a change in that wide receiver room and in the offense, it's got to be him.
Let me ask you a question. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But we see how the season's going, the offense is going for the Buffalo Bills. Looking at it now in hindsight, do you fault Stephon Diggs? at all.
Are we going to talk about this?
Maybe he was the one, right? We was once concerned, hey, Stephon Diggs is not the same guy. He's a step slow. He's washed up. This is why he has 10 straight games with nothing over 47 yards. But we see Stephon Diggs, he's having success. He's lining up in outside. He's lining up in the slot. He's having success. Was Stephon Diggs right? And do you understand? They're like, okay, can you say to yourself, you know what? I see exactly why Stephon Diggs left the Buffalo Bills. He saw it coming before we did.
But in that playoff game against the Bengals, the infamous throw your arms up, Ken Dorsey, was Brian Daboll or was that Ken Dorsey? Was that Ken Dorsey's offense? Because it wasn't Joe Brady's yet.
No, it wasn't.
And he was pissed off then, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I will say that when Brady took over in 23, I think Diggs knew the writing was on the wall because his target share went down a lot. And maybe he knew something. I will say this, though. If you had to compare offensive coordinators, Joe Brady and
Josh McDaniels.
I'm trying to word this rightly, the right way. Who's the better offensive coordinator? The guy that's won Super Bowls or the guy that's trying to figure out if he's going to be a head coach or college coach or this is his second year, second team, young guy? Josh McDaniels coached Tom Brady and schemed like we talked about earlier. We talked about that Patriots scheme. That was Josh McDaniels, right? Is Drake May and Stephon Diggs and all their skill positions, are they in a system that Joe Brady is not capable of doing with the Bills?
Yes.
Have guys that aren't great. Now, Drake May is good, but he's resurrected Stephon Diggs and the other receivers. Mac Hollins has had a couple big games. Like, is Josh McDaniels that much better than Joe Brady?
Yes. And that's the concern, right? Because the Patriots, what the Patriots have in Josh McDaniels is exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs have with Spags on defense.
Right.
Josh McDaniels he just got fired from the Las Vegas Raiders. That's his second chance. That's his second stint. That was his second and last probably opportunity. He's not getting another head coaching opportunity for some time, if ever, right? So he's going to be there. He's going to be a staple in the New England Patriots organization as an offensive coordinator with Drake May for the foreseeable future. And that right there is a scary thought, in my opinion. That's something that the Buffalo Bills have to be wary of and have to be, very concerned about with Josh McDaniels running that offense for the foreseeable future.
Well, Josh has had 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. I mean, you could be an all-world quarterback, but if you're having 3 different systems in 4 years, we always have that conversation about whose system was better. Was it Daboll or was it Brady? Like, whose system was better? Because we saw 2 different sides of Josh. We saw gunslinger Josh, who threw for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns, or we saw MVP Josh, who threw for 28 touchdowns and just barely hit 4,000 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't get sacked. All this stuff. They ran the ball, all this stuff. So it's inevitable that I think Brady's gone either way. So we're gonna have to figure this all out again next year. But I don't know. It's like you said, it's concerning because Drake May's going to have his offensive coordinator as long as Drake May's there, and Josh is going to have his 4th in 5 years, once or 5 in 6 years, something like that. Once Brady's gone, so it's a little bit concerning. So I don't want to get back on who's at fault for the offense here, but all right, let's talk about the actual game that's taking place tomorrow with the Buccaneers. Is this a must-win game, Akeem?
Yes, it's a must-win game for the Buffalo Bills.
Why is it a must-win game, do you think? Obviously, it's getting late in the season here.
A number of reasons. You want to stay connected to the Patriots, right? They have 2 losses. You have 3. Of course, you have the tiebreaker, and they have to lose another game. But you want to stay to the hip of the New England Patriots, and I think this is a game. Is like, okay, who are we? Right? We lost to Miami Dolphins last week. This is supposed to be the bounce back game. Who are the Buffalo Bills? They're playing at home against Tampa Bay, who has injuries themselves. So it's not like we had the ability to say, hey, we lost, but Kincaid was hurt. No, Bucky Irvin's hurt, Mike Evans hurt, Chris Godwin's hurt. They have a number of key impactful guys hurt for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're coming in our house hoping that they can right their wrongs because they lost to the New England Patriots last week. The Buffalo Bills, this game is a must-win game for the Buffalo Bills. If they go 6-4, now you're concerned about, can the Buffalo Bills win next week? That Houston Texas team has a great defense. They have a defense similar to the Atlanta Falcons that held the Buffalo Bills to 14 points. You would start raising doubts if the Buffalo Bills lose against the Buccaneers. Hey, can the Buffalo Bills beat Houston next week? CJ Stroud is out tomorrow, but I'm pretty sure Buffalo Bills luck, he's going to be back on Thursday Night Football against the Bills, right? So if the Buffalo Bills lose this game, God forbid, you have to wonder, hey, is playoffs now a question for the Buffalo Bills? Because that once soft schedule is no longer soft when you have to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tomorrow, to play one of the best defenses in the NFL in the Houston Texans, to play the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, to play Philadelphia Eagles, right? So to play the Patriots again. So this is one of those games that's like, okay, who are we as a football franchise in 2025 for the Buffalo Bills? And we're going to find out tomorrow. This is a must-win game for the Bills.
Yeah, are we the team that just beat the Kansas City Chiefs, beat them pretty good? I mean, I know it was a Hail Mary at the end of the game. Or are we the team that just got embarrassed by the Miami Dolphins? And the scary thing really, Akeem, is I have no idea tomorrow what to expect. I really don't. I understand we're 6-point favorites at home, but I don't know what team we're going to get. Are we going to get the team that the offense looks really good and gels and the Bills play disciplined and maybe McDermott's calling plays and the defense flying around? Or are we going to get a team that just looks off script all over the place? Like these guys in practice this week, they seemed all happy and they were playing on the goalposts and they were doing all these goofy things on social media. And Josh Allen was smiling again at press conferences and talking about his friendship with Baker Mayfield. That's fine and dandy, but tomorrow I hope we see some desire. I hope we see some drive. I hope we see some aggression. I hope we see some fire. Like this game, and I saw it in the comments, they need to win probably, I'd say almost every game minus maybe one to go 13-4. And that probably is going to put them in contention for seeding in the AFC top 1, 2, or 3, based off how the rest of the AFC plays out. Because I'm not going to count out Baltimore anymore. I've watched Lamar Jackson come back. I'm not going to count out the Kansas City Chiefs until they finally one year don't make the playoffs or don't win the AFC West. It's a crapshoot, and it stinks that you mentioned the easy part of the schedule. We ended up with 3 losses in the easy part of the schedule, and it's not to teams that we probably would have picked. We probably would have picked the Chiefs. We probably would have picked the Ravens, and maybe one of those other games in there, like maybe New England or the Monday night game against the Falcons, just because they're weird games that always the Bills end up losing. They've looked bad against bad teams too. They didn't look good against the Saints. They didn't look obviously good last week against the Dolphins. So that's what concerns me, is what team is going to show up tomorrow. Is it the team that is goofing around in practice again with the handshakes and then they go out there and take care of business? Or is this the team that's going to show up, just look completely disinterested and not give their best anywhere on the field like they did against the Dolphins? So I don't know. It stinks because the whole talk of the national media was how much of a joke the Bills' schedule is. They're favored in all 17 games, and they won 6 of the 9. And they need to just get their what together, and they need to come to play, because they should, on paper, they should beat this Buccaneers team. The Buccaneers team is beat up. I understand we are, but we got a lot of guys coming back, and the Bills should win tomorrow. All right. So what's your keys to victory for the Buffalo Bills? Take that any way you want it. Offense, defense, Josh, singular players, however you want to take that. What's your thoughts? Oh, you're muted again.
Josh got to get right. We got to get Josh, we got to get Josh, back on the right track. We got to get Josh confidence back. We got to get the offense confidence back. We got to get back to our identity and running the football and running our pass plays off the success of running the football with James Cook. We got to utilize play action. We got to keep our turnovers and penalties down. A lot of this, predicates off the Buffalo Bills mistakes as well, right? We have struggles offensively and we have struggles defensively, but it all goes downhill when the Buffalo Bills are making mistakes, when the Buffalo Bills are turning over the football. And against the Miami Dolphins, they turn over the football 3 times, 2 fumbles and an interception. That is the biggest thing for the Buffalo Bills. They have to limit beating themselves. If the opposition beats you, fine. Don't help the opposition beat you and turning the ball over. So for me, it's about the fundamentals for the Buffalo Bills. It's always been about the fundamentals for the Buffalo Bills. Play a mistake-free game, and I like our chances.
All offseason, we talked when we looked back at the Bills' keys to success last season. It was limit turnovers, keep Josh clean, and win on defense. That was, everybody talked about how it was statistically proven under Sean McDermott that he creates turnovers on defense, right? He creates turnovers. He did it with the Eagles. He did it with the Panthers, and he's done it his entire tenure with the Bills. Everybody talked about the Bills' offense not turning the ball over. Everybody talked about how good the Bills were at home. All the stuff that we talked about last year, it seems like none of that is happening this year. Josh is getting sacked more. Blame Josh, blame the offense, blame Brady, blame whoever you want. Josh is getting sacked more. The Bills are turning the ball over. James Cook fumbled against Miami. Like that, he didn't do that all last year. He didn't lose a fumble all last year. The Bills aren't getting the turnovers on defense like they were getting consistently last year. So that's like when you talk about the fundamentals, we need to get back to that formula. The Bills need to get back to the formula of what made them successful last year. Run a high efficient offense, keep the opposing team off the field, and be opportunistic on defense. And I feel like when you have a Cole Bishop playing the way he is, when you have a Maxwell Hairston playing the way he is, the turnovers are going to come. That will happen. But if your offense is turning the ball over 3 or 4 times, especially in plus territory, in the red zone, your quarterback is throwing interceptions and dropping the ball or fumbling the ball, like that's the stuff that needs to be addressed. And you can say it's the players executing, you can say it's the scheme, whatever it is. Joe Brady needs to be dialed in the rest of the season. Like, if you're a team that has a vacant head coaching position in this upcoming offseason, are you going to look at Joe Brady like you did last year when the Bills' offense is not as consistent as it was a season ago? Are you going to say, well, how you come in here and run the whole team, run all the offense, defense, special teams, when his offense, he's not making adjustments. It's inconsistent. So I know that's not the topic of what we're talking about, but
you're fine. Mm-hmm.
I think the Bills just need to play clean, fundamental football. And I know that's a lot easier said than done because things happen in games. Like, there's a slimmest of chances just to play mistake-free football. But I'm seeing undisciplined football as far as penalties. Like, just they're killing drives. Like, I don't understand why all of a sudden there's so many offensive penalties. It's false start. It's holding. Illegal formation. It's all kinds of stuff. Offensive pass interference. Just all kinds of things that they didn't do last year. And that's on coaching. It always comes back to coaching. So to me, let's try to, Josh is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. James Cook's a better running back than anybody on Tampa because Bucky Irving's out. The Bills wide receivers, they got a new crop of guys that they're going to throw in there. Plus Palmer's back. So let's see what that looks like. I don't know. I think that's your key, to just sustain drive, score points, and get out of there with a win.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on top of that?
No, I think I think you hit it on the head, man. We just got to get back to the, mistake free, get back to the fundamentals. We got to tackle. We didn't do a good job on A-Chain last week at all. We definitely got to, be more stout against the run. Hopefully we could cause turnovers, get in Baker Mayfield's face. I don't think we pressured Tua enough and got in his face enough. AJ Epinesa, TJ Sanders, those are going to be welcome additions back to the defense. We're going to need it. And, hopefully we could come out with this victory, man. Tomorrow's Sunday. We got the game tomorrow, and then we got a short week against the Houston Texans. These are, two quality teams, and these next 4 or 5 days is going to tell us a lot in terms of where the Buffalo Bills plan to go, what direction they plan to go for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, either they're 6-4, 6-5, or they're 8-3.
Mm-hmm.
By this time next week.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or 7-4. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, or 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, that's been Billsology. If you guys could drop some comments, if you're still watching this, if you're watching the replay, smash the like button, like, comment, share wherever you're watching. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We really, really appreciate it. We've had a ton of people in here. There's almost 700 between all the 4 platforms that we are on. I really appreciate it. I'm going to let Akeem take us out of here as always. Do your thing, man.
DM3, Dave Myers, A. Rich, Akeem Richens. This has been Billsology. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Excuse me, and hopefully we can watch a Buffalo Bills victory tomorrow. 1 o'clock games is I'm excited for the 1 o'clock game. But if we're going to keep performing like we did last week, maybe we need the primetime games. We'll definitely see what happens. From A. Rich, Akeem Richens, Dave Myers, Billsology. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back same time next week. Until next time.
Go Bills.
Let them people know it's time for the show.